Welcome to the Family Skeptical, Parenting Through Nonbelief.
We're a married atheist couple raising two wonderful, strange children. We ask big questions, dissect weird parenting moments, and examine how society ignores or misrepresents families like ours. If you're any stripe of nonbeliever who's involved in raising children, welcome. You are our people.
Our kids have heard all our swears, but yours might not have. So be thoughtful if there are young people listening with you. Hey, Pops.
Hey, Moms.
I'm really excited about this episode.
Mm-hmm.
Because we have a guest coming up.
Yes, we do.
We are going to be speaking with Betsy DeVille. And if you've been listening for a while, you may remember Betsy because we interviewed her. She was actually our first guest about her book, Grief for Atheists. She is amazing. She is an artist and writer who focuses on the awe and wonder of being an atheist. She explores the intersections of science, reverence, free thought, and blasphemy through history. She is an awesome gift shop, and she's been a speaker at American Atheists and other secular groups around the U.S., and I am just really excited about this conversation. However, I do have to give a heads up because we're going to be talking about Christmas. And before we get into that, I want to mention something about the Tooth Fairy. So we're going to be talking about the Tooth Fairy and Santa Claus in an adult way. So if you have kids listening, just a heads up about that, all right?
Are we going to talk about how they're like a shared universe? Like the lore and retconning?
They're not a shared universe.
There should be a shared universe.
There should be. But I was just thinking about it because we're going to be talking about Santa. And obviously there's a whole question of like when you break that myth for kids. And what I think is so funny is that we've already gone through that with Reader and Go. We never did the Easter Bunny. That was like never a thing in our family. But Reader has had a lot of loose teeth lately and lost one. And I am so amused at where we are with the Tooth Fairy at this point because Reader is well aware that we are the Tooth Fairy.
Oh, yes.
But so, okay, I feel like I have been on the struggle bus lately. There's just a lot and it's not all getting done. And I'm trying my best, and I do not know how to make it all work. And so after Reader lost their latest tooth, we definitely did not get the money in any sort of...
I very much enjoyed talking about the Tooth Fairy in various ways, as Reader was also talking about the Tooth Fairy in various ways. With the subtext being that each of us knew that he was talking about us.
Yes.
Which is hilarious.
This is what's so funny. Like, we all know.
And it all boiled down to me being too lazy or not really caring about giving them money for losing a tooth in a fashion that they would consider timely. It was very funny for me, so I regret nothing.
Okay, but I just thought it was very cute because I would be reading at bedtime and Reader would be like, the Tooth Fairy still hasn't come. I'd be like, yeah, I really have to talk with them, don't I? And it's just become this very sort of, I don't know. I just think it's sort of like a charming wink, wink joke where like nobody's admitting the reality and we're all just playing the game. But I'm kind of here for it.
Mm.
And I wish we had gotten the money on time. I'm not in love.
Yeah.
I just forgot. It's hard. There's a lot, and I never have cash. So.
Yeah, I think that they need to appreciate how the world is changing and that the Tooth Fairy just basically deals in crypto now. So
I was going to say, should it now be like a refillable debit card?
And then reader goes to check their blockchain.
From the Tooth
I haven't
Fairy?
seen the transfer yet from the Tooth Fairy.
But that has been a thing. And I think we're going to have to remember again soon, because it sounds like their other tooth is not long for this world where it is. But yeah, that's where we are, struggling along.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm super excited to share the conversation with Betsy.
Yes.
Betsy, thank you so much for coming back on the podcast.
I'm so glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
I have to say, I'm re-listening to all our episodes, and I am actually currently on the last time you were on the podcast, which is the first interview we ever did, and is still like one of my favorite episodes that we ever did. If you have joined more recently and haven't heard it, Betsy joined us to talk about her book, Grief for Atheists, and, kind of how to look at grief. And I think that book is probably one of the ones I recommend the most to people, just like, of like all books, in online groups I'm in, people I'm with. I just think it's so amazing. And I'm just like constantly, I have like my whole spiel down. I'm like, Grief for Atheists. It's okay if you're not an atheist. It just means it doesn't come from a religious perspective. Like, it's so helpful. So you are often on my mind because it's just a topic that comes up so much.
That is lovely to hear. And gosh, you're right. It is. It really is a topic that comes up a lot.
Yeah. But we're talking about something totally different today. So you wrote another book called Christmas for Atheists?
Yeah.
Yeah. And which one came first?
So Christmas for Atheists, so first let me say, I never set out to write books. But Christmas for Atheists, actually, it's a very short read. It came out from a series of blog posts that I wrote that when I was really exploring what does it mean to have a secular Christmas celebration when you have kids? And what is the history of all of the things that we celebrate? And am I taking something from religion that I maybe don't want to? Am I an imposter here? Like, how do I approach these kinds of things? And so from my perspective, it was about understanding, well, where did this actually originate? And it also was helpful because when you have kids, they ask a lot of questions. And that way I was a little more prepared to help them find the answers.
That's so fascinating. So if you had kids, like, how old were your kids when you started writing the blog posts?
That's a good question. Gosh, probably preschoolish, right?
Oh, wow.
When they start to ask the good questions.
Yeah. So like right in the midst of like Christmas magic.
Yeah. Like, is someone coming to our house in a red suit or not? A big decision that we all make. And how are we going to have family celebrations if our family is religious? And how do we explain things to our children in ways that they can understand, but don't necessarily predispose them to magical thinking or belief systems that may not be a good fit?
Yeah.
Like being like Santa watching you or something like that. That was always kind of creepy for me.
And now the elf on the shelf?
Oh, don't get me started on elf on the shelf. Could there be anything creepier?
It's so creepy.
Yeah.
So let's just to wind back a little bit. When you were thinking about this, like, what was the Christmas tradition that you kind of came from growing up? Was it a big deal for your family, or?
Yeah, it really was. So one of the things that's very interesting about holidays in general is the ritual, right? So we have these traditions, and they're the things that we do again and again and again. And that's what kind of builds all of the things around ritual and holiday that give us that sort of feeling of contentment and anticipation. What my family used to do was we would all go to church on Christmas Eve. My family was practicing Catholic, and then the church was actually walking distance to my grandparents' home. And they would have a very big celebration. And they had a curtain that they would hang up across an archway. So the Christmas tree was behind this curtain, along with all the gifts for all of the cousins. So they had this huge curtain that they would hang up. We would have the exact same meal every time, ham sandwiches and grape jello with pears. With
yum.
ruffled potato chips. Yeah, like I can conjure all of it, right?
Yeah.
You do it so many times. And my grandfather, when all the grandchildren were gathered around, this is a huge Catholic family, would pull down the curtain dramatically. And then the gifts would be handed out. And then because my mother did not like to wake up early in the morning, while we were at my grandparents' house, Santa would come to our house. So when we got home from our grandparents' house, then we would open presents from Santa.
Got
My
it.
mom would often make a birthday cake that said, "Happy birthday, Jesus."
Aww.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Did you sing Happy Birthday to Jesus?
She did. There was singing.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. We all would kind of look at each other like, this is a little ridiculous, but at least there's cake.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's fun. I kind of like the Christmas tree behind the curtain.
Yeah, I think it's like an old German tradition. It's not something I ran into in research, but that was what was always explained in my family.
Yeah. It's funny to think about, like, the things that are so distinct. I know in my family, my mom's side of the family is Jewish, though they celebrated Christmas growing up. But we would always go to my dad's family for Christmas. And I had one of those grandmothers who, like, never sat down all throughout Christmas because she was so worried about everybody else being served. So, kind of everybody asking her to please come sit at the table. And we never had them, but I thought they were so cool. My grandparents had, do you know, like the bubble lights? I feel like they're
we have
very,
those.
oh, I love it.
Yeah.
So they had bubble lights on their tree, which I thought were so cool. And then our tradition was we would drive home along Lake Drive, which was like the big fancy houses, and make fun of all the houses that didn't have good Christmas decorations. Because it was like, if you have a house that big, you should, like, do it well.
Oh, my gosh.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Hard agree.
Yeah. So that was our
It's
sort
a
of
social responsibility.
We moms also had the bubble lights. The material inside the bubble lights, I don't recall the chemical, but it's not something you actually would want in your home.
Oh, no.
However, they do still sell them. And I did not know when I purchased them, not only for myself, but for my brothers, because it was a very nostalgic thing, that was the case. So we do display them, but you have to be quite careful that they don't break, because I think it's basically a hazmat suit or something. Like, it was like, oh, golly, okay.
Yeah, that sounds right for, like, a 70s decoration. Like,
yeah,
look
I don't
at
know if
this
you
cool
remember.
thing that'll also kill you.
Yeah, because the tinsel, remember the tinsel people used to put on their trees? Like, this would be back in, like, I feel like the 40s and 50s. Apparently that was just covered in lead.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
That tracks.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so then I guess, when your kids were toddlers and you were doing these, like, did you set up your own Christmas traditions fairly thoughtfully? Or was it sort of like, or were you just sort of like a mix match of, like, yours, like, how sort of intentionally did you go into it when you had your own family?
We were fortunate in that my spouse and I had already built a Christmas celebration for ourselves, where every time we would travel, we would get a Christmas ornament. And so our Christmas tree then is just a memories. It's memories of things that we've done together. So that was sort of foundational. And for us, it wasn't a deliberate sit down and let's workshop through what this is going to be, but it was what still feels like it fits, or what might we adjust to make it fit. So obviously the birthday cake wasn't really a fit anymore. But and attending a service was also not a fit for us. But the decorating with the greenery, which comes from really old traditions about when you think about Northern Europe and solstice and the coming of spring. And now we have gotten through the midpoint of the long winter where we could run out of food, and we're going to just look to this future, right? All of those things, absolutely. So there was garland and we did Christmas tree. And on the top of the Christmas tree, maybe a star, but not necessarily representing anything. What's fun to me about light in general is it's a word with a lot of different meanings. And so you can look at a star and think about the awe and wonder that we have looking at the night sky, which you get to see a lot in the winter.
Yeah.
Because the nights are so long. So, and then thinking about gift exchanges, yes, we still still did those, but we dropped most of the church stuff. And then when the kids came along, the big question was Santa, right? What are we going to do about that? So what I like about that particular tradition is it's a benevolent stranger. And I like the idea that someone might do something kind for someone else without asking anything in return. And that was the angle that we sort of took. So there was never, I feel like Santa, when I was growing up, was a tool of control, right? Santa's watching, the elves are watching if you're not good, and that type of thing with a sort of benevolent stranger tradition goes back very far. There's lots of benevolent strangers that will do crazy things if you don't behave. There's one that I think is a Norse tradition that I think it's Lucy, where if you didn't complete all of your chores by a certain time, Lucy would knock over your chimney.
What? I love that.
Lucy?
Yeah.
And it's Lucy?
I think it's Lucci. Yeah, I think that's how it's pronounced.
Not Susan. So not Susan Lucci.
Yeah, no.
So
but
Susan Lucci swoops in and is like, I should have gotten an Emmy way long ago and knocked over a chimney in spite.
And I think that could come from the fact that survival was so important at that time. And so how might we ensure that everyone gets all of their stuff done? And you could have a big storm and you could blame it on, this character. So
yeah, because that makes sense now. Because I was like, that is so specific, having your chimney knocked over. Like that must, it must have been a real problem.
SSI, yeah. So it's a soft C. Scandinavian folklore, not Norse mythology, who is believed to come down the chimney on December 13th or Lucy night to punish non-completion of chores, specifically like Yuletide preparation. All right.
Isn't that wild?
Yes. Yeah. So merged with Saint Lucy, the Christian figure later on. And that's like the beginning of the entering the chimney. Though Odin is often cited as an influence for those entering through roofs or chimneys. Interesting.
Because they had the wild hunt, right?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Oh, that's wild hunt. That's really cool.
I love that.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's my new thing for today.
If we had ever had a girl,
yes,
the child would have been named Lucy.
True. Ooh.
So
she would have come down the chimney with a stork, right? Like a little wrapped up in a little package.
Exactly. I love that. So it's a very different view of Santa than the traditional one.
Oh, there are so many. Yeah, there are so many benevolent strangers. There's Befana, the Christmas witch, who I think that tradition is you leave out a glass of wine and she cleans your house.
Awesome.
And part of the story is, I think, something about a woman who had lost a child, but then it turns into a story about her looking for the baby Jesus. I just thought it was fun to leave out a glass of wine and somebody cleans your house for you. I feel like that's a great tradition to start. I would just stick with that part.
And really needed around the holidays.
Oh, true.
Yeah. But so thinking about how you wanted to present Santa to your family, like how did you go about emphasizing that as opposed to the I'm watching you for good behavior?
Well, Santa, you don't have to do a whole lot of work to have it be presented in your family if you live in the United States, right? Santa's everywhere.
Yeah.
Avoiding Santa, I think, is a bigger lift. So really just, we were always very child-led, as I think you were as well, as far as this is the Santa character, and we understand that Santa brings us gifts. And I remember making funny comments to my kids saying well, some people like to think that Santa doesn't bring gifts for kids who don't behave in a certain way, but I've never actually seen that happen. So don't,
Mm.
if you hear about this, don't be stressed about it. And we would attend events where there was a person in a costume as Santa. We have a hilarious photo of my older child sitting on Santa's lap for a photo. And for some reason, he happened to have his two hands in front of him, almost clasped in prayer, and he was looking up at the ceiling. And my spouse sent out the photo to friends saying, like, man, he is not, he's trying to cover all of his bases here. Like,
Yeah.
just to get whatever the thing was that he wanted that year. So we did participate in that. And then when we hit a place where we felt like a lot of children may have sorted things out for themselves or otherwise, then we would have that conversation about that Santa Claus is the idea of a benevolent stranger, and now you get to be one.
Mm.
And the reactions, for my older son, he is still a little bit resentful about the whole thing. And my spouse thinks it's because he feels like somebody pulled one over on him, not
Mm.
necessarily because he's upset that it happened. But
Yeah.
my younger one is really just like, that was a ripping good time. Like, I'm so glad that you did that. But it was in our family, he would come Christmas Eve, he would put down all of the gifts, and then he would leave.
Yeah, that's so for a long time before we moved, we had a drawing up. There was 4 different drawings taped together that Reader did when they found out that Santa wasn't real. And wasn't it, like, about how it broke their heart?
I think so.
Like, it was so weird because, like, the drawing was but they didn't talk about it a lot. Like, I don't think it weighed on them in a continuing way.
No.
And I don't think I was even there when they did the drawing. Like, I don't remember that moment happening. But it must have been enough at the moment that it inspired them to do it.
Yeah.
And then I don't even remember how it went for Go. So I'm kind of curious because this is obviously a topic that comes up a lot on like secular online spaces because it's something everybody has to decide how to handle. And I have heard some parents say that they like the process of kids working it out for themselves because it's like a
Mm.
first test of critical thinking.
Mhm.
And I don't know how I feel about that. Do you have any thoughts? I'm like, I sort of get it. On the
Mhm.
other hand, like, I don't know if I want to be the person, like, making the untruth that they have to figure out. I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on that one?
Yeah, that is I actually had a conversation with a friend, on Halloween, and her approach was with her child, anytime you ask me a question, I will tell you the truth, but make sure you wanna know the answer.
Mm.
Hmm.
Wow, it's like a
And
sphinx.
her child had sussed out that perhaps some of these benevolent strangers, such as the tooth fairy, or I think the least believable one is the Easter bunny, like, come on now, were not real, and so she started asking her mom about them. And so, okay, tooth fairy, okay, Easter bunny, and then she asked about Santa, and her mom stopped and was like, "Are you sure you want to know?" And she was like, "Yeah, I do." She was like, "No, like, that's your dad and I." And so she did kind of take that approach of this was in front of her child, and then when her child figured it out, she figured it out. Um, Her child, who was there too, and I spoke with, still enjoyed the whole experience. So
Hmm?
she didn't feel any resentment or anything toward her parents for it. There are families, though, who feel that they are being dishonest, when they kind of play along with this little charade.
Mm.
And I understand that, and I certainly respect that choice. But for our family, it was really just fun, and
Mm-hmm.
that was enough. It was fun because I know when I was a child, we were very poor when I was growing up. And one year, Santa Claus brought my brother and I a television of our own.
Mm.
And there's no way our family could have swung that. And I think it was from my grandparents, but it came from Santa. And
Mm.
I remember feeling like anything was possible. that there was good in the world, that this had happened. And looking back today, I think about the fact that, my parents took this super valuable gift and had it be from this benevolent stranger.
Yeah.
Instead of any other choices that they may have made. And I think it's interesting to think about presenting it more as a way to see the good and the possible in the world, and then also being that benevolent stranger, like doing good for the sake of it, and not necessarily because you're going to get credit or anything in return. But yeah, we definitely, I said we invited Santa into our home, and that's how I would talk to my kids about it, because we did have community members where their religion was so hyper-focused on Christ that they did not celebrate Santa at all. And so when I would talk to our kids about it, I would explain, well, they don't invite Santa into their home. And Santa's not going to go somewhere where he's not invited.
I mean, why would he want to? Come on.
Right.
Yeah. I know after the first time we recorded something about Christmas, I asked my dad, because I don't remember my parents ever suggesting that Santa was real. But he says that, like, they kind of went back and forth. And then at a certain point, like, it just became clear I knew. But yeah, I don't remember a time where I really believed. And so I think it was tricky because I know Pops wanted to do it and we did it. But, like, I can say that, like, my heart was deeply in the keeping up of the myth. I mean, I know a lot of families go through a lot of effort to keep that level of magic. And I was like, I was fine doing it, but I was, like, not going to work particularly hard for it. So we might have been able to keep it up longer if I had been deeply committed to it. Because I think I always felt like, there are so many books I love about Santa. There's an amazing one called
Corvette and
Yeah, Corvette and which is, like, I think is from the Netherlands, maybe?
I thought it was also, like, Swedish or
maybe it was Swedish.
Norwegian.
But it's so fun because it doesn't really focus on Santa at all. It, like, really focuses on the minutia of what all the elves do and all the work that goes into it and, like, what that society is like.
Finnish.
There we go. And so I love that. But I sort of feel about it the way I feel about religious stories, where I'm like, they're great even if they aren't true.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't have to believe any of this is true to really enjoy the interesting parts about these stories.
So it's funny when you said that, you weren't super dedicated to keeping it up. We had one year where my older son really wanted to make sure the chimney flue was open so that Santa could come in. So my spouse opens the chimney flue. So everyone's gone to bed. My spouse is doing all of the things. And he opens the chimney flue and thunk, something falls down into the fireplace. And it's a wasp nest. And they had been cold in the chimney, but now they're in my warm house. So my spouse is like, I might have just ruined Christmas. We're going to get attacked by wasps in the morning. So he, like, closes the meager chain, those little chainmail curtains that you have sometimes on a fireplace. He quickly closes that. He's in a panic. He's like, well, what am I going to do? The kids are asleep. I can't wake them up. So he chose to get the vacuum cleaner and just suck up all the things. So while he's, like, panicking, running around, he starts to hear them start to hum, because they're warming up. Yeah. So,
oh my God.
So he has to get out the vacuum, like, the shop vac, suck up the whole thing, hoping that he doesn't wake everybody up because he's halfway through putting out Christmas presents. And then runs outside with the canister and just opens it up and leaves, just like, So I come downstairs to help him finish because the kids are asleep, and I come downstairs and his eyes are like saucers. And he looks at me, he's like, well, I'm awake, because he had just gone through this, like, huge adrenaline rush. So he was dedicated. He was very dedicated.
Yeah, man, fireplaces are amazing, but they are also, I remember we did a lot of fires when I was a kid, and there was one year where for the first fire, they had like opened the flue, but they had forgotten that they had put like a styrofoam piece up there as insulation. So when they started the fire, it lit on fire and like dropped down, and my dad just like grabbed it and ran out of the house with it because it was like a burning piece of plastic that was fireplaces.
Wood-burning fireplaces are no joke.
No.
We
really.
actually never used that fireplace. It was always empty. I'm like, I don't want to deal with that.
Yeah, they're a lot. They are a lot. So I'm curious, did you ever consider not doing Christmas or doing something different?
We did not. We already had the tradition of the Christmas tree, and we really just enjoyed that part of it. And we just sort of let go of anything else that didn't fit for us. And the idea of, I think a lot about when you're small and you want to be part of a community, right? If you are going against the grain, you better make sure you want to.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot about, I'm willing to to go against the grain, but how willing am I to have my kids go against the grain? Because they don't get to choose.
Yeah.
They don't get to choose. So am I choosing that they're going to be shunned? Or am I choosing that they're going to have not great social experiences? That was something that I thought about a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we thought about continuing, I can't say there was a time when we felt like we would just absolutely not do anything related to Christmas at all. Plus, I think it's fun.
Yeah, for sure. And
did you guys think about that? How did you think about it?
Oh, I love Christmas. We would never.
It wasn't a question.
Yeah, we would have never not done Christmas.
That some families do, and that's okay.
Yeah, for sure.
For sure. Yeah. And just on the point, I love your Christmas ornament thing. And Christmas trees were a big thing for us too. To the point when I was young, we actually had 2 Christmas trees. I had my own to decorate, which was wild.
I love that for you, though.
Yeah. I mean, it's a privilege that I
That's
totally
awesome.
get a lot of families can't do, but we had a big enough living room and it was so cool. But one of my favorite children's book authors is named Aliki. And they did this amazing one called The Medieval Feast, which is about a lord and lady getting ready to host the king. And their illustrations are so gorgeous. But they did a Christmas book, which is all about a family putting up the Christmas tree and talking about the story behind each ornament.
Yeah.
And I can't remember the name, but I will put in the show notes. But if you can still get your hands on that book, it is...
I'm excited to check it out.
It's just so beautiful. And there's it's clear that the there's some stuff sort of about the past of the family. I don't know. It's so cool.
Yeah, I feel like Christmas is really an opportunity to celebrate the history of your own family in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Sure.
Right? Because the ornaments are all going to have a story. I mean, unless that's not how you roll, and that's cool too. But, children often make ornaments when they're in school and bring them home. And then you have the story of that. And then the ornaments that you acquire. And in our family, our kids will see ornaments that we had when we were kids. And they know the stories of all of them. So in some ways, if as a secular family, I think if you're thinking about how you want to approach Christmas, I think thinking about it as a celebration of the story of your family, when we think about the decorations, and we think about what traditions really mean, I think that's an interesting place to sort of start.
For sure.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so interesting because I had no history of going to church growing up. That wasn't even on the menu. But I am legitimately a little sad that the kids did not get a chance to do a late night service at the church that Pops went to growing up. Because as much as it's not part of our tradition, I got to go one year and I know it was a special thing for his family. So, so I'm curious, speaking of church, how much or at all did you address the Jesus of it all with your kids?
Yeah, that's such a great question. So another thing we had in our family was the nativity scene. So
Mm.
this, in Christian families, is a small-ish table display of the manger, right? So the traditional story of Jesus is that they were traveling and Mary was pregnant with the Son of God, and they couldn't find a hotel, and so they ended up having to stay in basically a barn, right? A manger. And so it's a recreation of that, almost like a diorama, right? And you have all the little figurines, and then the little pile of hay where Jesus will be is empty until you put him there on Christmas. And someone in our family would get the special task of doing that, and you better not break it. Um, so that story, that was where we kind of started with the story, because this is something that they're going to see at their grandparents' house and they're going to see on the neighbor's lawn, right? So let's make sure you
Mm.
understand what the story is that's being celebrated here. One thing that we would always note is historically, we know it is true that Jesus wasn't actually born on December 25. That is
Hmm.
just the day that they choose to celebrate on. But it is this, the intent here is a celebration of this person that they thought was really special in their religion. And later he became the Son of God. So they know that as a story. And then, of course, there's the wise men, because you see that happening as well, right?
Hmm.
People will have that as part of their display. And there's the Feast of the Epiphany and all those things. So they knew all of those stories, but they never, and Jesus as a historical person probably existed. So that's fine. But that's kind of the basis of the whole Christian religion, right? Is the birth and then the death of Jesus at Easter time. I feel like Jesus at Easter is a bigger question, because that's such a violent story.
Yeah.
But celebrating a baby's birth, I think everybody can kind of understand. I don't know. How did you guys approach it?
Well, I mean, I am just like such a big fan of kids' books. So
Hmm.
again, I had the illustrated story that I grew up with. It's actually it's gorgeous, but it's kind of creepy because it's all done in silhouettes.
Ooh.
I don't know. It's just the one I had. They're like very gorgeous silhouettes, but the whole story is done in silhouettes. And so yeah, it was just like one of the books we read, and I don't think it was
Hmm.
like the favorite. I don't, we didn't read it a lot of times. Like, I mean, the ones we read a ton were Father Christmas, which is like the grumpy British Santa,
I love that one so much.
is so good. And Corvette Venturi and what's the one with the train that was made into the incredibly
I mean,
spooky
Polar
movie?
Express.
Yeah, Polar Express,
Oh, yeah.
which was not a big one I liked growing up, but the kids really liked it. And there was one, there was like superheroes. But anyway, so there are tons we read a lot. But that one, just every other year or so, I'd make sure it was kind of in rotation so they remembered what the actual story was. And I think similarly, it was just like, this is where it came from. This isn't what we believe. It's probably not how it actually went down, but like, this is the story.
Then
So,
because I always feel like I never want them to learn on a school bus. Like, I don't want them
yeah.
to hear this on a school bus. I want you to hear it from me
Mm.
first, or from some other reputable source. It doesn't have to be me, but things that they like, because, yeah, my kids will come home and say, like, some kid on the bus said this. I don't think that's true. I was like, yeah, it's not. Let's talk about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, we did not have a specific book, though. Like, I'm looking back and I'm like, we very specifically would have avoided having a book in our home telling that story. And I think it's probably like, yeah, we would tell you the story, but I think from my perspective, I didn't want to retell it a lot of times. And it's probably because I grew up with that religion and I don't feel necessarily neutral about it.
Yeah. Oh, I 100% get it. I think for me, it was helpful because since it wasn't a big part of my tradition,
Hmm.
like I didn't have to worry about remembering how it
Hmm.
went, or it was just like an easy
Hmm.
access point. So
And yeah, books are such a good conversation starter with kids.
now I feel like I always try to talk to the kids about kind of all of the parts of the celebration that have been taken from things that aren't specifically Christian. And you
Hmm.
brought up the Christmas tree,
Hmm.
but I wonder, and then I think in the episode we did last year, like the Christmas Carol is such a big thing for us.
Yes.
And I love that story because to me, it's really about the best parts of the season, which are just like thinking about helping others, like thinking about bringing more joy and light into the world and how we can do that, and empathy. And I know one time when I was reading about it, they talked about how Charles Dickens' kind of like imagining of Christmas in that book is actually the basis of a lot of the ways we celebrate it now.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's actually accurate. I might have been spreading misinformation, but I didn't know if there are any other sort of like secular traditions or things that you learned about that like you think are cool or focus on, or that you found surprising or anything like that.
I would say the coolest secular, so not pagan, but the coolest secular tradition is actually a pretty new one. It's called Human Light, and it comes out of humanism. So Human Light was created, I think it was like a humanist group in New Jersey a couple decades ago. And they wanted to create a way to celebrate alongside, not in opposition to, but alongside the other celebrations that are happening at the end of the year. So Human Light is celebrated around December 23rd. And the intent there is specific. So it's like, we're not here to override something else. We're here to come alongside you.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea of Human Light, so one of the core things that we celebrate in any end of year celebration is light, right? You're going to see that in solstice. You're going to see that in Diwali. You're going to see that in Yule. You're going to see that in even Samhain, right? In some regards. So you take that aspect of light, and light, is such a flexible, interesting word. Human Light is about celebrating the light within all of us, our greatest hopes and achievements, like what have been our biggest achievements as humans. Eradicating smallpox. That one's a great one to celebrate, right?
Yeah.
And thinking about what other things we can do to make the world better together, right? And so Human Light's probably my favorite secular celebration, and it's also a nice foundational place to start when you're thinking about building a celebration with your family. Because thinking about what are the great things that happened to you in the last year, what were some of your big things that you're proud of? Like, there's nothing more fantastic than when you're 5, everyone's celebrating with you all the things you're proud about yourself that year. That's really special. And I guess other ones, though, decorating with greenery, that goes way back. Christmas trees go way back. Ornaments on Christmas trees go way back. Gingerbread is a funny one because there used to be these gingerbread guilds, and only certain people were allowed to make gingerbread.
What?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And gingerbread used to be this kind of, I feel like, old breadcrumb concoction of spices and whatever was around, and it was kind of pounded into a mold and then popped out. It later became a thing called fairings that you would get at a fair, and they were maybe shaped like flowers or plants or something like that. But we do a gingerbread house party in our family every year. We actually had some friends come and visit us recently because we moved from Texas to North Carolina, and they came to visit us from Texas. And it was the month of September, and we had done gingerbread houses with them pretty much every Christmas season since our kids were small.
Aww.
And what do these kids want to do? They're all teenagers now. And they were like, what do you guys want to do when we're hanging out? Like, oh, we want to make gingerbread houses.
That's
That's
cool.
what we want to do, right? And so that's definitely a tradition that we've built in our family. But there's also, I think, another thing to think about when you're building a holiday celebration is anticipation is a big part of, when we are looking forward to something, sometimes that's actually even better than the thing itself.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And we start, once Halloween is over, everyone starts anticipating Christmas. Everyone starts thinking about, what that's going to be, and having time away from your normal day-to-day life. Usually people take some time with their family around that time of year. There's business closures. And so that anticipation is a really lovely thing to think about, and like, well, what are we going to do? That's so great. And then, when we think about Human Light, again, there's the aspect of wonder and thinking about what could be possible. I think that's a nice, hopeful way to also approach a holiday celebration.
Yeah. All right. Since you brought up gingerbread houses,
Yeah.
I just need to know specifics. So what is the vibe of your family's gingerbread houses? Is it like messy? Is it like super like what's your gingerbread? And it could be different for different people, but like what's your
Yeah.
gingerbread vibe?
So it's funny because when they did the gingerbread decorating together, they had in their head that they had always used very specific candy.
Uh-huh.
That was their rosy retrospection. But what was actually true is they got what was on sale. So so they went out shopping together. The teenagers went out shopping for candy, and they were like, well, they called and they're like, well, what did we usually always get? And I was like, you didn't always get anything. You just got what was on sale that week. But no, it's usually I build the houses for them ahead of time because they're pretty big, and it's a multi-step process because you have to have everything kind of dry. And in order for kids to get it done in an afternoon, it's easier to walk in. And I came in to this I used to teach at a science museum, and one of the things we did every year was gingerbread house workshops.
Ooh.
So I feel like I came in wildly prepared compared to most people as far as like how to mass assemble gingerbread houses. But they are, I think they probably feel pretty traditional. They evolve over time. So when my youngest was really little and this started, his was all yogurt and dried fruit. We've never done there's a charcuterie version of a gingerbread house. I don't know if you've ever seen that.
What?
Yeah. So if you are a person who enjoys a charcuterie tray, there are people who will make a gingerbread house that's like a charcuterie tray, and then you just pull off, a chunk of cheese or whatever to enjoy. They're pretty adorable.
Do they include meat?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You could think about like, little salami roof shingles.
That is amazing. We are looking this up after this interview pops, just so you know. That would be hilarious. Because we have almost always spent Christmas at other family members for the last, since COVID. And for the first time in a long, long time, we're actually going to be home for Christmas. So which is kind of just, it's very nice to think about. But man, I feel like that would be hilarious to bring out.
Yeah.
Unexpected. I don't know. I probably am not going to have the energy for it, but I'm definitely looking up photos as soon as this is done.
But yeah, I would say now that they're teenagers, there's quite a bit of precision involved as far as like they want to see some symmetry. This year, they had some random candy. And so they jokingly, but not really, put, Sour Patch Kids. They're kind of shaped a little bit like a person. Yeah, so they would randomly work that into their roof pattern, and they thought it was really funny to have bodies on the roof because teenagers.
Oh, yeah. That sounds like a lot of fun.
There's another approach you can do, though, if you want something that's not going to necessarily get consumed right away. There's a recipe for, it's like a cinnamon applesauce glue thing that you can put into a mold. Your kids may have done this in school at some point. It's also great because it's really allergy friendly. So if you have someone who has food allergies and a gingerbread house party is just a non-starter, you can make this gingerbread dough where it's like cinnamon applesauce and glue, and then you can use cookie cutters to cut things out, or you can cut out your own shapes and then let them dry and assemble it as a gingerbread house, and then you can bring out some sparkly glue and some other things to decorate it.
That is very
That's
cool.
really interesting.
I have a couple good friends who have severe food allergies, and so I always try to think about how do you do with that? Like, how can you have fun and everybody can have the same kind of fun without having to worry about that?
That is amazing to think about. So, but when you do it traditionally, is it all edible, or are you cracking out the hot glue gun?
Nope, it's all edible. Yeah. Yeah. Weirdly, I also did a certification in cake decorating at one point.
This is amazing.
Oh, boy.
I feel like I came in probably more prepared.
Yes.
Yeah. No, I love this, though.
Yeah. It's best to do, when you're assembling, it's best to do like a royal icing kind of thing to hold it together. And that's basically when you're going to do like a powdered egg white with a powdered sugar and some water. It is not delicious, but it is like cement. So I like to use that to assemble the house so that the joints are all tight. And then just a traditional American buttercream for the actual icing. They don't, I've not had the kids ever ask to do piping work on their houses because that would
Mhm.
also be a royal icing thing. But they've never wanted to do that.
Interesting. It was not a big thing in my family. I feel like we tried it a couple years. And I know one year we actually tried to like melt the hard candies in the windows
Oh,
for
yeah, I've done
stained
that.
Yeah,
glass
interesting.
stained
Mhm.
glass windows,
Mhm.
which was really
Yeah.
cool, but more work
Mhm.
than I would want to personally
That would be, yeah. I
do.
think we did that one year, and I made those ahead of time.
Yep.
Like, I assembled the houses and then made the window pieces, and then we had what we had. It's a
Totally.
super fun activity, though, and there, if you enjoy gingerbread, which I do, it's there. Yeah. The pro tip, though, is once the dough is made, it's a very heavy dough, so like roll it out before you refrigerate it because
Mhm.
you don't want to deal with it if it's freezing cold from the fridge.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's just so fun to think, because it's like with Pops's family, his mom is an amazing baker. And so, like, a big part of Christmas is there's just this array of cookies that she makes every
Mm.
Christmas, and they are delicious. And, like, I I can't imagine, like, now that is just part of our Christmas.
Mhm.
And
I'm going to have
then,
to learn all the recipes.
well, we've talked about this, right? Like,
Yeah.
or all of them, or some of them. I don't know, but like, it's
I
definitely
think maybe
something.
this Christmas season, I want to try making one of the family recipes.
Oh,
I've never done
wow.
it before. I know it's a big responsibility. I've never done it before. I want
Yeah.
to start. I want to go big or go home. I want to try the Pfeffernussen.
Oh,
Oh,
wow.
okay.
So I'm going to
Yeah.
ask, but it's very likely that she'll hear me talk about this before I actually ask her. Though that's not true. I'll probably bring it up when we see her next weekend.
Yeah.
I'll make a note to ask because I mean it's it can be a bit of touch and go if you don't do it right. So
Totally.
I'm excited for you.
thank you.
Yeah.
Hard as a rock. Break
No.
your teeth. No,
No.
the half apple and foil in the box works pretty well. So,
No, the amazing, like you bite in and you feel like it's going to be hard all the way through, but
I
like
love
then
that.
you get in there and it's,
it's the best.
yeah,
All right.
yeah.
I could eat
I'm
my
looking that
body
up
weight in those things.
because I've heard that, but I'm like not familiar. What's the flavor profile?
It's pepper. It's sugar and pepper. And like, cookie spices.
Okay.
Everybody, there are a lot of different versions of Pfeffernusse. It's been around for a while, but our version is just what I'm familiar with. And so I'm kind of biased, and I've had them other versions before, and they're too sweet and not peppery enough, and the
Okay.
consistency is wrong. But it's my preference.
I think you can tell me that this is untoward, but I think, because I've had other Pfeffernussen, which is nothing like your mom's, and your mom's
No.
is better. I think we should, when we post this episode, we should post the recipe.
I feel compelled. Yes.
Yeah, I think that we should. I think that's going to be our gift to our community.
I feel like, yeah, maybe we could like keep it going. We
That
can
and her
every
cinnamon,
couple.
that and the cinnamon bun recipe.
Oh, that is
It's pretty next
Is it like
level.
a cinnamon roll?
Yeah, they're next level. It's just it's a lot of butter and brown sugar. No like icing, cream cheese, none of that stuff. It's just the dough and brown sugar and butter and raisins if you want it. It's a much more stripped down version of a cinnamon roll from what a lot of people are familiar with. But in that simplicity, it's more elegant and it's also far more decadent. For me, at least, it's hard to eat just one.
They get mailed around the country, correct? Every year?
Yes, everybody has their own package and nobody shares.
Everybody has to get their own.
My uncle gets his own and nobody touches them except for him. It's the funniest thing.
We have a molasses cookie recipe in our family that is like that.
Yes,
my family will have a contest.
We have two. One, the original is Joe Frogger's, which the dough is so sticky, it's unwieldy to work with. But the newer version, our kids are hooked on. And yeah, molasses cookies. Ugh.
What is your version, Betsy?
Yeah, please.
Ours is more like if you've ever had a whoopie pie.
Yes.
So it's like a cake-like texture.
Ooh.
So like fluffy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ooh,
So it's like, yeah.
yeah.
So it's like a half a whoopie pie, right? So it's the bottom, and then you frost the bottom. Once it's baked, you flip it over and frost the bottom with like an American buttercream. So it's not a very sweet cookie, but then you're contrasting it with the American buttercream.
Yeah,
which of course
I
is
dig that.
A
That's
sugar
cool.
bomb.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the ones that get mailed around in our family. In fact, we had a family event where a relative that no one knew existed came, because big Catholic families, things like this happen. And it's happened more than once in mine. And one of my uncles brought the molasses cookies, and he presented them to this new family member as a gift. Like, welcome to the family. This is the family recipe. He said, also, now everyone is going to come and say hello to you because everyone here will want one. And sure enough, like,
oh, yes.
She was so warmly welcomed into the family because she came bearing this gift. It was really lovely.
That's cool.
I don't know. That feels like the perfect place to wrap it up. I am so
agreed.
in the holiday spirit. I'm just like, this has made me happy talking about Christmas. Betsy, if people want to find you, where should they go?
BetsyDeVille.com.
And I should say, like, you should go check out the site because Betsy makes all sorts of...
Her shop is so cool.
Yeah. I think it was a couple Christmases ago, but our family members definitely you have awesome Christmas gifts.
The ornaments are so cool.
Tea towels, jewelry. You can pick up Grief for Atheists. There's a lot of really lovely.
Do you still make the phylogenic tree thing?
Yes.
I
just sent
adore
one
those.
to a science professor recently.
Yeah, that's cool.
That was one of my favorites. Yeah, those are like a 3-day undertaking.
That was actually what caught my eye about your booth when we met at the American Atheists conference. Was that I was like, oh, she's doing like a phylogenetic tree graphic, and that's
but it's stained glass.
Yeah, it's real cool.
Yeah. No, I have some new stuff coming out. I have new stuff coming out all the time, but I have some new stuff coming out too in time for the holidays, so I'm excited about that.
Oh, we'll check it out.
Oh, yeah, we're going there too. All right. Thank you so much, Betsy. This was great.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Happy holidays.
Thank you.
And that's it. I would just say once again, go check out Betsy's work. It is amazing. As always, we have to thank Jonathan Zalbin and First Frame Music for the music for this podcast.
And that wraps up this episode of The Family Skeptical, where nothing is sacred except for our kids.
It's working.
Excellent. All right. I'm just going to turn off my camera and drop this down.
You okay there?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Okay. I should be all right. All right.